Hey everyone! So today I am finally planting my dahlia tubers for this year. So I have, I think, 6 new ones that I'll be planting that I got from a local garden center. So 3 different varieties, 2 bulbs in each variety. So I'm going to have 6 new ones and then 1 dahlia tuber that I did successfully overwinter last year. But I'll talk a bit about overwintering and what worked and what didn't near the end of this video. A quick recap on my experience with dahlias since gardening over the last few years. Last year was the very first year I did not kill my dahlias. So I made a video, I think in July, that I'll link down below, that showed you the current state of my dahlia and talked a little bit about what I did differently, but I didn't actually show you how I planted it, which is what I'm going to do this year. So a quick recap of that video. Basically, I think my issues were not using a large enough container and not having enough drainage. So I'm doing things basically exactly how I did last year, since that's how I saw success. But before I get into actually showing you what I'm going to, or how I'm going to plant it, I'll talk a little bit about what I'm planting. Now, I did go over these in a separate video as well, but I figure I'll just quickly show you them. So the first dahlia that I am planting today is the Thomas A. Edison. It's this very vibrant purple. There's 2 tubers in this bag. Next, this bag I already opened, but I have 2 of the Emery Paul dinner plate dahlias, so a very vibrant pink color. And lastly, I have Otto's Thrill dinner plate dahlias, and this one is much more of like an orangey pink, kind of salmony pink color. Now, I do also have 2 decorative dahlias here, so these are going to be a bit smaller, but these I'm going to plant in a raised bed where my beets are currently growing. So I'm not going to plant these right now. I'm going to plant them a little bit later. So one thing I did last year was I planted my dahlia tubers in my grow bags in mid-April, which is where we're at right now. Now, if you are familiar at all with Chicago weather, that is way too early to plant dahlia tubers and leave them outside, especially growing in containers where they're even more susceptible to the cold. But what I did last year is I basically started them inside. Once it started spreading, I moved them outside, and then if there was any cold weather, which we definitely had, or colder than how dahlias prefer, typically anything below frost, I moved them inside. So I just basically moved them in and out until the weather was consistently warm enough. I only had 2 dahlias last year. Will having 7 make that a process that is a little bit annoying? I don't know, maybe, but I think it's worth it just to give the dahlias a bit of a head start, because I think I had blooms by late June last year, and if I didn't start these till after last frost, which is when you want to keep them outside just to avoid any damage, that is usually after Mother's Day, so around like May 10th, May 11th, and later than that, I probably wouldn't have had blooms this early. So that is why I'm going to start them the exact same time as I did last year and basically follow the same method. So now I will show you actually getting the dahlias into the grow bag. So I already have 5 grow bags filled. Just to make the process easier, I'll show you what I put into this empty one, and then we'll go ahead and pot all of them up. Now for size, I'm going with a 7-gallon grow bag. That worked well last year, so again, I'm not switching anything up. Recommended size in terms of container is about a 12-inch diameter, which I think these are just about that. The brand is Vivo Sun. I just get them online. They're roughly less than $5, maybe $3 per bag. Only thing is with these beige colors, they do get dirty or show dirt a lot easier than if you were to get black grow bags, but I really like having these in the garden. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up, and then we'll get to planting the tubers. So I'm gonna fill this about halfway with potting soil first. Then I'm gonna add an inch-thick layer of compost and mix that in together. Okay, now I'm ready to put the tuber itself into the grow bag. I'm going to go ahead and plant up all 6 of these now, starting with the Emery Paul. So when you are planting these, you want to find the stem. Sometimes it's more obvious than others on the tuber itself. So the stem is right here, and then I'm just going to kind of fan out the tubers around the stem. All right, next I'm gonna do about a tablespoon and a half worth of bulb tone, again just kind of eyeballing it and sprinkling it right around the tuber itself. The last step is then to cover the tuber with, I'd say, about 1 inch to 2 inches worth of soil on the top, water it in, and then we'll be good to go, and I'll plant up the rest of them. But I'll get this one done first and we'll move on to the other bags. Here are the 6 new dahlias all watered in. I am going to grab some labels for these because now that I have more than one variety growing and they're all in identical containers, I would like to be able to tell them apart, especially because they're not going to be in their permanent place probably for a while. So I kind of want to be able to tell which colors are going to be which. Here is the one that successfully overwintered last year. This one is the Penhill watermelon variety. It ended up being a very, very light pink, almost cafe au lait. And you can see this one has been sprouting. So this one I've been taking just in and out as the weather allows. So I grew 2 bags of dahlias last year, both the same variety, and I tried out 2 different methods for overwintering. The one that is still here, I just left as is. So I chopped off the dahlia probably about 1 inch above the soil. I put it in the garage. I watered it maybe once a month at the most, whenever the soil was dry, and that's all I did. And then I brought it inside maybe 2 weeks ago and it started to sprout. The other tuber I dug up, I stored it in vermiculite, which I probably had to moisten about every 2 weeks, and I just stored that in the coolest place in our home. And then we did have, unfortunately, a loss in our family in February, and when that happened, I did not care to check on anything, so it did basically end up drying out. I'm not going to be able to replant it this year, it was too far gone. So based on just the minimal amount of effort required to keep it in the garage, I'm going to do that again. And then if you do want to divide it after that, you can dig it up in the spring and just divide it like that. Now, as far as maintenance on the dahlia tubers, like I mentioned, I am going to store them inside until they start to sprout, and then I'll kind of move them in and out based on the weather. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them dry out a little bit here, I'll move them inside, and then I'll probably have to water maybe once every 2 weeks. I'll check every week because they are in grow bags, so that is the type of container that definitely dries out the fastest just because it is so porous. So I'll check every week. I don't know if I have to water every week, but I will update you on that as I go along. And then hopefully we'll start to see some sprouts soon, and I'm really excited to have, what is it, quadruple the amount of dahlias this year that I had last year. So I'm really looking forward to it. So I think that's going to be everything for today. It was really great to get these planted up. I feel like everything I kind of crossed off my garden to-do list just makes me feel a little bit less stressed when I think of everything that I'm going to have to start doing here pretty soon, as we're kind of in the swing of things. But it's nice to have them planted, ready to go. It's going to require, you know, a little bit of maintenance until they're warm enough to stay outside completely, but it's kind of worth it for the joy that the dahlias bring me in the garden. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.